This is a microphone. In VR, it lets people hear your voice. Pretty important for a social experience like VRChat, right? And these are a set of Vive trackers plus a pair of index knuckles. In VR, these let people see your body, tracking your movement all the way down to each individual finger. And just like your voice, body language is pretty important.
But something is missing. Arguably just as important as your voice is your face.
All it takes is one look at someone's facial expression and you instantly get an idea of how they are feeling. Disgusted, happy, stoned.
You get the picture.
Face tracking makes a huge difference in VRChat. Instead of having your avatar's face controlled by gestures, you control your face with your face. If you're a content creator or simply spend way too much time on VRChat, face tracking is definitely something worth looking into. And here's what we use to get our face in VR. Or shall I say, here's what we used to use. This is a Vive face tracker. That makes sense. This is a tracker, but for your face. It's meant to fit on Vive's dumpster fire headsets, but with a 3D printer and a trip to the hardware store, or enough duct tape, you can mount this on pretty much any headset. I personally run a Varjo Aero with the face tracker for both eye and face tracking. Do you think this setup looks clunky? Maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable and a bit of a pain in the ass? Well, that's because it is. Drinking requires expert precision.
Japanese manufacturer.
You can't really fit a cup in here, so you have to jimmy your drink in between your face and the tracker, and tilt your head all the way back or just sip out of a straw like a little kid.
Then there's the software. Like my great-grandfather once said, the only thing worse than Vive hardware is Vive software.
This is SR Anapol. Maybe it's Anapal? I don't know. It's Vive's proprietary software for the face tracker. Installing SR Anapol itself is a bit of a nightmare. The little UI that you do get is straight out of Windows 95. It's just plain ugly.
Which would be fine if it worked.
This software is held together by nothing but the digital equivalent of duct tape. At some point, you'll be all excited to get into VRChat and hang out with your friends. You'll plug in the face tracker and nothing.
Okay, troubleshooting 101, unplug it and plug it back in.
And you just killed your $130 face tracker. Why though? It was in the middle of updating, you goofball. And SR Anapol simply doesn't tell you that it's updating, and unplugging it mid-update can easily fry the internals.
The issue is so bad that VRCFT's website has a warning dedicated specifically to it. On top of that, Vive hasn't fixed any of these issues, and instead decided to just make a new one instead that makes you look like Squidward.
Quick side note, Vive recently announced that they aren't going to be making this tracker anymore. But I will say other companies are working on better solutions. Wink wink. Then there's the headset that you actually mount this thing to. I use a Varjo Aero, right? Industry-leading eye tracking, enterprise-grade hardware, blah 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 blah. Besides the fact that I have to run an extra USB cable all the way to the headset because the Aero simply doesn't have a built-in USB port, there's something fundamentally wrong with the Aero's eye tracking.
I was super excited to try eye tracking for the first time. I plugged in all of my stuff, made sure that my avatar was ready to go, with nothing but green lights across the board.
I put the Aero on, calibrated my eyes, and bam! My avatar's eyes looked like they belonged to a Seattle crackhead. I then recalibrated my eyes, but this time with them all the way open to see if it helped, and surprisingly it did. I joined up on some friends excited to show them, took a quick yawn because I was tired, and wouldn't you know it, my eyes started freaking out again.
That's when I went to the VRCFT Discord to ask for help. Real quick, VRC face tracking, or VRCFT for short, is a software that you need for face tracking regardless of the hardware that you use. Think of it like a middleman. It's what passes your face tracking data from your headset onto VRChat.
VRCFT works using modules made by people in the community. That's pretty cool. Just install the right modules for your hardware and you're good. I posted in their help section on their Discord trying to figure out what I was doing wrong with the Aero, and that's when the dev for the Aero module replied to me.
Basically just saying the Aero's eye tracking is fucked.
To elaborate a bit, anything from the headset ever so slightly tilting to the left during use due to the pressure of the cable, all the way to just closing your eyes can very easily make the Aero's eye tracking absolutely lose it. When I close one eye, both eyes open. When I yawn and open my eyes back up, the eyes tend to just slam right open. The actual pupil tracking is great, don't get me wrong. The Aero just has a hard time with everything else.
So don't get an Aero if eye tracking is your thing. Look at alternatives like the Reverb Omnicept. Vive Pro Eye? I mean, you could use an open source project like iTrack VR, but if you get the wrong parts, you could fry your eyeballs, cyberpunk style.
You could do something crazy like tape a phone to the front of your Quest 2. But if you don't want to, there are really only two companies right now still making headsets that have built-in eye and face tracking. That's Pico and Meta.
There very well could be more options in the future, but for right now the situation is kind of sticky. I'm a cold-blooded American, so it's kind of a hassle for me to get my hands on anything Pico. I can, however, get my hands on a Quest Pro using the classic technique of mooching off your friends.
This is Sino. I met Sino a few months ago in a public midnight rooftop lobby. Sino has something that I don't. Money, a Quest Pro. So this is the Quest Pro. When it was launched over a year ago, it was a pretty confusing offer. Performance, controllers, and a really price tag of $1,500.
Initially, it was a terrible value, especially compared to a Quest 3, which mops the floor with a Quest Pro in basically every metric.
Except for one tiny little thing. The Quest Pro is the undisputed king of face tracking. Do you see these shiny rings here on the Arrow's lenses? They house an IR array and cameras that track your eyes with a bunch of wizard magic. You can find the same rings on the Quest Pro, but here's the special part. The Quest Pro uses the same tech that tracks your eyes, but to track everything on your face.
The Arrow might be an industry leader in a lot of ways. Resolution, PPD, blah 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 blah, and slapping a face tracker on the front of it definitely gets the job done reasonably well. I mean, you're still watching this video. But the Quest Pro was specifically made for two things.
That's mixed reality, which honestly kind of sucks, just ask Sino. But more importantly for us, Meta made the Quest Pro in a very desperate attempt to get professionals to use Horizon workrooms.
If Horizon rings a bell, it's Meta's failed social media platform. To give you an idea, VRChat has about 50,000-ish players on daily between Steam and Android platforms. Horizon Worlds, on the other hand, backed by one of the largest corporations in the world, has about 900 people on daily. Ouch.
Despite the failure of Meta's own platform, which was rightfully deserved, the Quest Pro is a very solid piece of hardware and is without a doubt the best option for face tracking right now. And the worst part of the Quest Pro, that initial price tag, it isn't so bad these days.
Not only does the Quest Pro track your eyes, it tracks your eyebrows, cheeks, and now with the most recent update, your tongue. There's some real money-making opportunities right here.
The hardware tracks your face, VRCFT takes that data and gives it to VRChat, and now for the tricky part.
Getting your hands on a face-tracked avatar to show it off.
Without getting too dense about it, face-tracked avatars get very complicated very quickly.
The difference between a non-face-tracked and a fully face-tracked avatar are these goofy things called blend shapes.
Blend shapes are used to adjust things on hair, like make certain parts shorter or longer, make your avatar's boingas smaller or bigger if that's your cup of tea, I guess, or to make your avatar look like a stick bug. Face tracking packages add blend shapes to your avatar's face, and VRCFT lets your hardware control those new special blend shapes. This can be as simple as a smile, puffing your cheeks out, all the way to dilating your own avatar's pupils according to your own.
It can be pretty tricky to manually add face tracking onto a model. It requires a level of Unity and Blender knowledge that most of us simply can't be asked to know. Luckily, the VRChat community is really great, and we can just have a really smart furry do it for us.
You can either just use a public avatar, but if you're watching my channel, chances are you have your own custom model. Just like other assets, you can find face tracking packages from creators on Booth, Ko-fi, and Gumroad. These face tracking packages make it really easy to add the blend shapes necessary for face tracking. Among the people who make them, the most popular creators are Echo and Jerry. Jerry's face tracking packages are more affordable than Echo's, but also less expressive overall. Echo's is very cartoony, which is the aesthetic that I prefer.
If I frown, her ears and tail go down. If I smile, her ears go up and the tail wings. We are getting way too fucking deep.
Thank you for watching. A huge thank you to Azriel, Sekiro BT Dubs, Amikawi, Ifon, and Furuya for joining the Patreon and supporting the channel. I hope you've had a happy new year so far. Thank you all for being here.